Today's supplemental routine is actually more of a cool down routine that you can use. There's no equipment required, but a lot of these movements we're going to be holding for a prolonged bit of time. So feel free to incorporate this quick routine after you do a workout just to get a little bit more light through your muscles. So we're going to start in a long drawn out frog pose. And if you want to come in here through child's pose first, getting the knees out wide, toes to touch, you may do that. Just spread your knees out probably a little bit wider than you normally do in child's pose, or you're more than welcome to bring your ankles in line with the knees. And start by sinking down as low as you can, staying either on tented fingertips, or if you're able to get down to your forearms, that's fine too. And you're thinking about keeping your back flat as you send your butt back to your heels. And if you want to add an additional thread the needle to this, so this is a really fun one to do, you can actually take one arm, reach up and then reach it underneath, rest on the shoulder, and you can turn your head and look in the same direction as the hands. And hopefully you'll feel a stretch throughout your opposing side in the inner thigh when you do this. If you want to take this up a notch and you have the inner groin mobility to do so, the splits, you may experiment with straightening the back leg. You may need to come up a little bit taller, straighten that leg, come on the inner edge of the foot, and then thread the needle or just stay up here. So if you want to take that extra step, now is a great time to do that. You can also stay right where you are and sink in for a little bit longer. And let's go ahead and switch sides. So if you threaded the needle, we'll go ahead and do the other side now. So take the other arm, reach it underneath. Palm facing up, go ahead and rest on the shoulder and look up towards the ceiling. And if coming all the way to the shoulder is tough for you, then you may experiment just walking your hands over to the side. I didn't really mention that earlier, but if you want to just on tented fingertips, walk your hands over in the opposite direction, that would be another way to scale this option if coming down to your shoulders is not for you. And taking that next step, if you want, you can lift up your hips a bit, straighten that leg, and go a little bit further distance if you have the mobility to do that. I feel this a lot in my inner thighs when I do this version here. So give us a couple more seconds, and then we'll move on to a slightly different pose. So the next one we're going to do laying on our backs, and this is going to be a passive internal 90 leg drop. So we're going to use the assistance of our leg to help pull our knee down into internal rotation. So the easier option would be to do this from a seated position. If you want to take it a step further, you may choose to come back on your forearms or lay on the ground. So starting your feet wide in our regular internal 90 stance, you're going to take one ankle, cross it over the opposing knee, and you're going to use the weight of that leg to press the knee down as far as you can. And this is a position we're going to hold for about 30 seconds. And again, if you want to take this up a notch, if you have the mobility to do so, you may also walk yourself down to your forearms or even come down to a laying position. And some of you may feel this more in your back. When you do on a laying position, your hip may come off the floor just a hair, a half an inch or so. You want to do your best to keep your both butt cheeks on the floor if you can. Though from a laying position, just depending on your mobility, you may find that hip kind of rises off the floor. So we're going to go ahead and switch sides. So let's go ahead and unwind, take the other ankle, cross it over the knee, and go ahead and drive that knee down to the floor, coming on the inner edge of the foot, so try not to really move that foot too much. And if you want to lay back and make this a little bit harder, I'm going to stay up here so I can talk on this one. And you should be feeling this perhaps somewhere around the upper thigh, up at the upper edge of the hip crease, perhaps sometime on the inside of the groin or the inner thigh. It's going to be a little different sensation, kind of similar to our internal 90s that we do that are more dynamic. So this is a great passive stretch to do if you're looking for a way to do to increase your internal rotation preceding a workout. So this is a great one to do if you're looking to increase your internal rotation after a workout during a cool down. All right. We're going to move on to another stretch. This one's also for the inner thighs, and we're going to add a nice side angle to that. So we're going to do a triangle pose, but we're going to do it from a kneeling position. So instead of standing, we're actually going to come on one knee. So we're going to come into, it's easiest to start on both knees here. You're going to stick one leg out to the side, and you can either point the toes up or keep flat in the foot. It's your choice. You're going to get a stretch from it either way. And then you're going to start by walking your hands over towards that other foot. Now I'm going to place the hand and arm that's closest to this foot on the floor, either tented fingertips or flat. And then with the other hand, you're going to do your best to reach up towards the ceiling. And you're going to feel a stretch through the inner thigh here. And if you want to, you may also choose to reach the arm over the ear and turn it into a side angle. So just staying up here tall, triangle pose. Maybe your hand doesn't get up that far, and that's fine. But this is a really great stretch for the inner groin and the hamstring, as well as a little bit of a shoulder opener. You want to stay long and flat through the crown of your head, no matter whether you're on tented fingertips or not. And let's go ahead and switch sides. So meet back on both knees. We're going to stick the other leg out. And again, you can be on the heel or you can be flat on the foot. Let's go ahead and walk the hands over closer to that leg. And then with the opposite arm, we're going to reach up to the ceiling. The side is a little bit more tight for me, so I'm not going up very far on this one. And then if you want to take that extra notch, you can also reach the arm, the bicep right next to the ear, and reach the fingertips over towards the toes. Really trying to stretch the chest up towards the ceiling, so peel that chest upwards towards the ceiling. Really good chest opener. This one almost seems like work rather than a relaxing stretch. That's all right, we'll get to a couple more relaxing things here in just a moment. All right, next one, we're gonna do a shoulder opener. So we're gonna lay on the floor, and you're gonna take your hand in a stop sign formation, and making sure that the elbow is in line with the shoulder, okay? So you don't want the elbow to be too high or too low. You want it to be exactly at 90-degree angles, keeping the forearm pressed down to the floor. You're gonna come up on tented fingertips on the other side. Now this back leg here, you may choose to stack it or bring it totally behind the other leg, your choice, but you're gonna feel the stretch through the front of the shoulder here, through the pec. It's a really great opener for the front of the shoulder if you did a lot of push-ups. But again, a lot of times our chest is super tight and it restricts our overhead mobility. So opening up the front of the shoulder is great. You can also do this with a straight arm. So I'm demoing this with a 90-degree. You can also have the arm straight. If you want to try that out, just have the palm flat and the arm straight out across from you like a T shape. And then coming up into this one, you may feel a different stretch to the front of the shoulder. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So we'll come onto the other arm now, 90 degrees, shoulder and elbow are in line with each other, placing that forearm down, and then peeling up on the other side. You can again stack that back foot either on top of the other leg or directly behind. Come up on tented fingertips, look up at the ceiling. It's a good stretch through the front of the shoulder and the armpit. You can also do the straight arm version too if that's really intensive on your shoulder. Sometimes the straight arm version is a little bit more accessible. So continue to hold this here for another few seconds, and then we're going to move into a modified child's pose stretch for the shoulders. So let's go ahead and come out, and we're going to do one last one. This is a modified child's pose where it really focuses on anchoring down the forearms, so you're getting an opening through the shoulders. So you're going to make a diamond shape on the floor, and you're going to place your forearms on the floor and kind of anchor them in so they're not moving anywhere. So hands in a diamond, forearms down, and then go ahead and send your knees wide, toes to touch, and send your hips back. And if you keep your forearms anchored down, you should feel a pull or a stretch through your shoulders as you do this. Now, if you're not feeling it, you may need to bring your elbows closer to each other and feel the stretch here. You may also bring your head through the window. And just kind of experiment and see how this feels in terms of where you're feeling at the shoulders. You can also experiment with having your elbows out wide. So if you're wanting a different angle of shoulder, maybe have your elbows out wide, elbows narrow, and just keep tugging, pushing your forearms into the floor as you send your hips back. And I'm going to let you settle in here for just a moment. Finding that stretch, finding that opening through your shoulders. They may already feel fairly opened already. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this cool down routine and you can incorporate it after some of your workouts.